And finally, it is my personal opinion that God was looking after our country when you were elected. Mr. President, thank you for everything you have done.
Wow. Thank you.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the latest new Q posts talk about incredible stuff. Why do they not want to unmask or unseal the documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's case? And we're going to talk about much more to do with what is going on behind the scenes. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always begin by saying thank you to everyone who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, and also make sure you hit the like button, which is the thumbs up button at the bottom of this video if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So this right here is where we're going to pick up. It's right where we left off. Of course, we left off at Q post 3123, picking up here at Q post 3124. And guys, these posts are incredible. You guys are going to want to stick around and watch this incredible information unfold. So first we have this tweet from John Solomon actually talking about the Ukraine opening a probe into foreign effort to influence the U.S. election to help Hillary Clinton. Now, if you actually click on this story and read through it, it basically walks you through what has happened with this Ukrainian prosecutor, General Yuri Lutsenko, who was being interviewed by John Solomon and has basically uncovered the fact that the Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, and a person working there, Artem Sitnik, sorry about that, attempted to benefit the 2016 U.S. presidential election on behalf of Hillary Clinton. Now, how this actually came about is still a little bit murky here, but it talks about Paul Manafort, and it's the same way that Robert Mueller was able to go after Paul Manafort, were the same people who are connected to the Clintons who are being investigated right now in Ukraine. And I guess I'll update that story as it continues to develop. But the next thing that Q points us to here is this Fox News article, which talks about a Obama White House counsel facing possible prosecution in Mueller-initiated probe. So, incredibly, a part of Robert Mueller's probe, he actually found that a Democrat, an Obama Democrat, may have committed a crime. And this may be the first of many. This just came out, reported by Greg Ree at Fox News. The man's name is Greg Craig. Well, it's a shame you have to have that name, but oh well. But what the story goes on to talk about is how they're looking at getting this guy on the Foreign Agents Registration Act violations, which is the same thing. They've tried to get many other people involved, and that's what they went after, I believe, Paul Manafort with, and along with many other things. FARA violations are quite rare, but this seems to be where this investigation has taken Robert Mueller. But what's even more fascinating is that, as it notes down here in the article, that this was all basically, as I said before, pushed by the Robert Mueller investigation. It was forwarded to the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. in January, right? But it's saying here also, as part of this story, separately, New York prosecutors are also looking into potential similar charges regarding another Clinton-connected Washington insider, Tony Podesta. In September, Manafort admitted to directing two firms, Mercury Public Affairs and the Podesta Group, to lobby in the U.S. on behalf of a Ukrainian political party in Ukraine's government, then led by Yanukovych, Manafort's longtime political patron. It says Mercury and Podesta, which were paid a combined $2 million on the project, then registered under a less stringent lobbying law that doesn't require as much public disclosure as FARA. Both firms have said they registered under the Lobbying Disclosure Act rather than FARA on the advice of lawyers at Skadden, Arp, Slate, Meager, and Flom. That's the weirdest. I don't know why attorneys have the weird. I mean, they're just always weird. It's like weird stuff. Anyway, not to get distracted, Craig's former firm. So apparently, Greg Craig was working at this firm. But in court papers, Mueller's prosecutors suggested the firms were aware they were working on Ukraine's behalf. Times reported on Tuesday that the Podesta probe apparently has not been moved to the DOJ and that Manhattan prosecutors remain in control of the investigation. In a flurry of new activity in January, though, federal prosecutors began systematically interviewing witnesses and contacting lawyers to schedule additional questioning related to the Podesta Group and Mercury Public Affairs. Podesta is a longtime operative whose brother John Podesta ran Hillary Clinton's campaign. You guys know that. Yeah. And that's basically what this story talks about. So if you guys want to read the whole thing, I'll leave a link to it down in the description. But then we're going to hear what Q has to say about it, saying, numbers do not always equate to days. The face of a watch clock has multiple versions. Incorrect interpretations pushed as statements of fact often lead to pitfalls, stranglehold, choke tactic used by attackers. Increase in attacks, deplatform, shill infiltration, mainstream media, fake MAGA direct, links to terrorism, acts of violence, only demonstrates validity in close proximity to justice. Pain. Q. Now I read this quite simply. Lots of the interpretations of the numbers that are given here, are stated as, meaning this exactly or that exactly, and there's time frames. I mean, yesterday was supposed to be the 21-day mark, but as we've said before, this board is being watched by everyone, not just the good guys, if that makes sense. And there is something called misinformation that is used to misdirect our enemies, to make them work on timetables that they believe are true, but which in fact turn out to be false. And that's just one reading of this, because you've seen what's happened lately. This has been quite pronounced, especially in the past week and months, weeks and months. We've been basically targeted for removal. And why is that? It's because they want to remove our freedom of speech. They want to deplatform us. They'll infiltrate us. They'll claim they're MAGA when they're really not, and they'll link us to acts of violence and try to basically conflate our issues with those of sociopaths. And this to me is a part of the overall campaign to destroy this alternative means to disseminate information, right? And information that's incredibly important. Put this all together, right? Just these two articles. Think about that. You have officials in the Ukraine working at the behest of the Clinton administration in order, allegedly, to meddle in the United States 2016 election. But I don't hear anybody on CNN talking about this, or MSNBC. I don't even hear it on Fox, really. Sometimes, I mean, these reports come from Fox, but I mean, it's not really on most of their daily shows. There are a few people who do cover it there. But this is an important story. It should be on every network pretty much all the time. We should be talking about what happened here and how can we right this wrong? How can we fix it? But instead, they choose to ignore it. The next one here is a tweet that were pointed to by Q, which is this @DrawAndStrike, which says, "I'm still laughing my you-know-what off at those who think the entire plot was exposed, aired out in public for the last year and a half so that, can you believe this? I mean, really, they can let all the plotters walk away. My gosh, some people are dumb." And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just agree with that. We wouldn't be airing all this dirty laundry for the past 2 years just to say, oh yeah, well, live and you learn. Hope you guys realize, I hope we embarrassed you really good. No, there's actual indictments coming. That's really what that's kind of pointing to. It says, the attempted coup, treason, opens the public door to more serious. The pill must be easy to swallow. The lead-in, the public must be prepared for what is about to come. The Clinton Foundation, and then it gives 25 plus signs, and it just says Q. So this is really the lead in to what we're going to be talking about here later in this episode with Epstein Island and the connection with this unsealing of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's trial, and the fact that there are people whose entire careers are at stake according to court documents, and they're doing their best behind the scenes, even working with the court under presumed aliases in order to keep the unsealing from happening in that case. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And that can tie directly back to things that we've talked about here with the Clinton Foundation. And we're not just going to turn a blind eye to this. And I'll just be very, very clear. Anyone who is involved in child sex trafficking or child sexual abuse or child abuse in general, and is involved in these and has their whole life on the line, their careers on the line for what might be implicated out of that unsealing of those documents, all I have to say is there will be justice. All right, we'll go on to the next one here. It says, did both of Hussein's parents learn Russian? Is Russian a common language to learn? Think then, think now. Think Nelly. Or why would you need to know how to speak Russian in their fields of practice, public fields? The Cold War? ABC, DEFGHIJKLM, Oh. So let me just go over what Q's insinuating here. Here is a picture of both of Barack Obama's parents. Alleged parents, of course, because you know how the theories of, there's just so many people with so many different ideas. But this is supposed to be it. This is Barack Obama Sr., and this is his mom, Ann Dunham, I think, something like that. Anyway, this is a picture of his mother Dunham with this Lolo guy, Sotero. That's how he got his name, Barry Sotero. Of course, changing it later to Barack Obama. And I mean, basically the insinuation being made here is that these people were working as CIA agents. I'm just going to say it, clowns, right? Because that's the insinuation that's been made about Nellie Orr. And what if our former president's parents were both working as clowns? And I don't mean that as in circus. I mean that as in intelligence clowns, right? Why would you need to know how to speak Russian in their fields of practice, what they publicly disclose as their fields of practice? You probably wouldn't. But it was the time of the Cold War. And were they recruited? Were they assets? Were they working there? That's what Q is insinuating. I mean, I guess there's a few ways you could read that, but that's the insinuation being made. And it truly begs the question of, it calls into question everything. If it was that coordinated for him to become president, and it wasn't, maybe if it was, what if it wasn't a grassroots thing? What if it was all a part of a larger deception? The Obama deception, if you will. I mean, we have the right to ask these questions, and I would like to know. Wouldn't you, though, if you're a citizen of this country, right? Even if you voted for Obama and you still love him and all that, great, good for you. Let me ask you this question. Would it matter to you if his parents turned out to be assets of clandestine intelligence services? Would it make you maybe question why he decided to change his name and has such a convoluted past and his meteoric rise to fame? Would that call any of that into question for you? Or are you just so far, or are you just unable to take that line of reasoning? I would say fairly enough. That's a real question. That's a question that I'm asking. So. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, but this one is it just keeps getting more and more incredible. It says, ask yourself a very simple question. What would the fake news media and other controlled assets expend this amount of time and resources attempting to discredit, cast as conspiracy LARP, this movement if it did not pose a significant threat, danger? You attack those who threaten you the most. Logical thinking, Q. So that's it. I mean, that's the other part that really bothers me when you hear a lot of the mainstream media sources talk about Q. They come after us and they try to discredit us, but they get everything wrong. They misreport the facts and the fact patterns that we're following here. And then they cast dispersion on those who are following it, trying to create straw men to cast into oblivion. And it's part of a broader strategy to attack a source of information that grows exponentially with one post. Meaning, Q makes a post, then you have hundreds, if not thousands, of anons digging on it, and then that piece of information extrapolates into many different avenues and sources. And you have videos on YouTube, you have articles on on websites, you have people on podcasts. I mean, you have everything, and it's it attacks the media's stranglehold on the narrative. So that's what that's basically saying. The next one here points us back. You guys remember about a week ago, we got this post from Q talking about being vigilant at all times. And he specifically names Italy here, which is very important because Q then points us to this right here. And of course, this is a breaking news live report talking about immigrant man hijacked a school bus carrying 51 children, locked them inside, and set the bus on fire in a possible terrorist incident in Milano, Italy. Police quickly rescued all the children on board. So thank God, first of all, none of the children were killed. As far as the reports I've seen, there was one child who had an injury and a few other children who were taken to the hospital to be looked at. But thank God that this psycho terrorist did not hurt these children. But it begs the question, we were told to watch out for this. Q says 51 children burned alive, enough to change the narrative for days. This is not a game. These people are sick, Q. And we've talked about this before. The theory, hypothetically speaking, as we said before, make this very clear, this is hypothetically speaking. When Q gave us the last post where it said ammunition is hard to come by in the last video, if you guys watched that, or a couple videos ago, what Q was referring to, in my opinion, was everyone thought the 19th was going to be the day that the Mueller report came out, that the full declassified stuff happens, and that everyone was the media would know. So what did they do to prepare for that, hypothetically speaking? Well, if you wanted to cause a distraction and change the narrative and pivot away from a story that was breaking, that was going to expose criminality and corruption, hypothetically, theoretically speaking, would it not be to your benefit if there was a tragedy that was of a larger scale than what you yourself are being convicted of, in order to basically suck all the oxygen out of the room on the story that would expose your corruption and criminality, hypothetically speaking? And remember, guys, I've said this before, this is not a game. People's lives are at stake every single day across the world and here in our country. And I mean that in the sense of, we have to be vigilant. We have to see, if we see something, say something. We have to be arbiters of goodness in our community. We have to be righteous and go out into our communities and make them better, and be vigilant and be aware, and live our lives successfully and prosperously in God's great creation that He's given us. But this is the kind of sick stuff that we have to deal with here, and we deal with here in this channel quite regularly, and it's very disturbing. But I'm very thankful that the children were all right, and I am praying for those kids who were traumatized by this act of senseless violence. Now, responding to his own post here, Q actually puts this Twitter post up, and Q says this is not a game, and it actually is a video of these terrified children running out of the school bus. Now, I'm not going to share it here on the channel, and I'll give you a simple reason why. I don't think that sharing that kind of stuff is necessarily going to help anyone figure anything out, other than the fact that this is very serious. If you guys want to watch it, I'll leave a link down in the description. You can go to the Twitter post and watch the video for yourself. But this is not a game, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going up against some pretty evil stuff here. So the next one here is a Daily Mail article, which actually talks about this guy. Man, this is crazy. Alan Kruger, who just apparently took his life just a few days ago. And the article's titled, "He had a perpetual smile even when he was correcting you. Obama leads the tributes to his chief economist, who also advised Bill Clinton after he takes his own life, aged 58. Now, he was a Princeton University economist who served under the Clinton-Obama administrations. And I had asked the question right after this had occurred on my Twitter account, or I basically just posed the question, this is very disconcerting how this man took his life, especially because he was set to release a book. So he had a book coming out very shortly here. So it doesn't seem like he was. I don't know him personally, but I can say, usually people are planning big things in their lives and making moves and doing things. It's rare that this happens, although it can happen. But you guys know what happens for people who cross the Clintons. Historically, they don't usually fare too well. And I'm not making that insinuation here. I'm just asking the question of what happened to this man, what caused him to take his own life. It's very sad. And then here's Q quoting out of the article. It says, "It is with tremendous sadness we share that Professor Alan B. Kruger, beloved husband, father, son, brother, and Princeton professor of economics, took his own life over the weekend." A statement from his family read. Q says, "Start a list." See? This isn't a game, guys. There's real stuff happening every day, and I'm praying every day. I just put my faith in God, and if we all put our faith in God and try to live a righteous life and do what's right for ourselves and others, then we can get through this, and we can beat this evil. And the next one here is a picture we've gotten before. Now, there's a lot of anons out there who have been picking this thing apart. So this is Bill Clinton, obviously, and I have the picture here, which actually basically lays out who they all are. It's Ricardo Chaez, Bill Clinton, George Nader, Jose Calzada, Rolando Gonzalez Bunster. And who are these guys? Well, these are just big magnates. And George Nader is an important one if this is George Nader. I'm not sure if it is. It was linked, and this was a caption from, I believe it was a True Pundit article that came out about this. And I was reading this article here talking about how former President Bill Clinton was in the Dominican Republic at Punta Cana, which is where I believe this is, and that he was coming there from Mexico, and he was there with the tourism mogul Frank Rainieri and Rolando Gonzalez Bunster. And this guy is, if you guys see his actual face, Frank Rainieri is this guy here, and here is a picture of George Nader. And I'm not sure which one is closer to the actual picture here, but the whole article talks about how George Nader was busted. This guy was actually working with the Mueller probe, and then it was pictured that he was out there with the Clintons, allegedly, according to what this photo seems to show, but and the way people have read it. And but I was also thinking this might be Frank Rainieri, but it's really kind of besides the point, because Q's asking us who took the picture and who was located behind the camera. So, and another thing is that anons were basically, a lot of anons believe this was Tony Podesta here. But like I said, according to what I've been able to find, that is more likely than not a guy named Jose Calzada. And but people say it's not him. They think it's Tony Podesta, which would probably mean it would be someone like John behind the camera, his brother. But I'm not really quite there yet as far as this dig goes. It's really in its first level here, where we're looking at this and looking at what Q's trying to point us to. Are these the people who are trying to keep the documents from being unsealed, right? Because the Politico story actually lays it all out, as I said before, where it's talking about who was involved, who are these John Does, and why do they want to keep their names out of this unsealing, right? Because that's really the true question. So the next one says Nick Lewin. Now, was Nick the one behind the camera? That's kind of my question. It's hard to tell. And a lot of people are making the guesses saying it's this and that, but it's impossible to know who's behind the camera because we weren't there. Unless you were there, in which case you feel free to write me an email. So Nick Lewin, and it says Mueller connection, Comey connection, national security, Q. What an odd thing. But then we get this Politico document that was posted, and it is this right here. And this is actually an appeal for the Second Circuit Court, which is basically being filed on the behalf of these John Does trying to keep this information sealed. Now, one of the very quick anons was able to pull this up quick. This is a piece out of this document on page 17 where it talks about as the Third Circuit has explained in declining to publicize a list of unindicted co-conspirators in a criminal case, it says these individuals on the sealed list are faced with more than mere embarrassment. It is no exaggeration to suggest that publication of this list might be career-ending for some. Clearly, it will inflict serious injury on the reputations of all. In some instances, there may be truth to the prosecutor's accusation. On the other hand, it is virtually certain that serious injury will be inflicted upon innocent individuals as well. In these circumstances, we have no hesitancy in holding that the trial court had a compelling governmental interest in making sure its own process was not utilized to unnecessarily jeopardize the privacy and reputational interests of the named individuals. So they're basically citing precedents to say that the people involved in this are going to have career-ending revelations, and it may inflict serious injury on the reputations of all those who are unnamed. I wonder who those unnamed individuals could be. Who rode, 20 or 30 times on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane? What was his name? Former president. Bill Clinton. That's right. I mean, come on, guys. And I think that's kind of something that we were supposed to take a peek at there. And it's saying national security. So this obviously would relate back to national security. That's how they sweep it all under the rug. That's how they keep all these investigations classified. It's all national security. Oh, well, if it comes out that, hypothetically speaking, if a former president were involved in what Q is alleging here, which is something to do with sex trafficking, could you imagine the national security implication of that kind of information? I mean, and not only just in terms of a global sense, I mean, you have to think of the domestic issues as well. People voted for this man and his wife, and I mean, these crimes are just despicable if they turn out to be provably true. So there's enough circumstantial evidence to at least warrant an investigation and to impanel a grand jury and to ask for an indictment from the grand jury or several indictments if that hasn't already happened. So that's what we're looking at here, guys. And please let me know down in the comments anything else you want to add or contribute. I know I might have missed a few things, so that's why I always encourage you guys to go check out the comments and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights. And I'll always encourage you guys to come here, and if you want to help out the channel, click the big red subscribe button. Also hit that thumbs up button. It's a like button. It helps them know that you like this content, helps me know that you want more, all that good stuff. So go down there and do that and watch these videos and share them on your social media. Get that word out there however you can. And if you've made it this far and you have no idea what QAnon is, I didn't mention this earlier, I don't think, but come here and watch this video, What is QAnon, The Great Awakening, and also watch these videos if you want to get caught up on the latest Q posts. There's a lot of great information down there, so I always encourage everyone to go check that out. A few more ways you can help out the channel is to come over here and find me on Patreon. That's patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website, and without your guys' support, I couldn't do this, so thank you so much to everybody who comes here. It's a monthly donation. There'll be a link in the description. You click this button, set it and forget it, and know you're helping create content on this channel 24/7, 365, and I thank you. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time donation. You guys are what keep this channel alive. I really, literally could not do it without you guys, so thank you truly for the support that you guys have shown. Also, don't forget to come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou on Twitter. That's at JustInformYou on Twitter. You can come find me and you can come connect here and we can share tweets and all that stuff. All the videos and stuff gets posted there. So that's cool. Also, you should go check out justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where you can get all the latest videos. You can get links to all the Q stuff, links to different news sites. You can have these links to different news articles, breaking news. That's all there's a lot of utility over in that site if you guys want to go check it out. It's really just a tool for you guys to use. Now, before we go, every episode we end with a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for this episode, we deal with evil a lot here on the channel. And I always balance that and point everyone toward God, because there is so much evil in this world. But there's just not enough people who are pushing and promoting the incredible eternal salvation that we've all received through the sacrifice of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I want to share a piece of scripture that I think helps show you guys what love really is in a Christian speaking as a Christian. And this is out of Romans. It's chapter 12, verses 9 through 12. And it's saying, love must be without hypocrisy. Detest evil. Cling to what is good. Show family affection to one another with brotherly love. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lack diligence. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. And be persistent in prayer. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. Those few things that were just listed there in that scripture are ways to live our lives. Now, I'm not perfect. I do get upset. I'm an imperfect person. I've made mistakes. I've repented and I've asked God for forgiveness every single time, and I will continue to do so from here until I'm with God in heaven. I pray. But that's what we all have to do. And for these individuals, as it says here, if this stuff is true about children being harmed and these crimes and all of this corruption, it says right here, a part of our ethics are to detest evil and cling to what is good and live a life of love without hypocrisy. And it's a struggle. It's incredibly simple theoretically, not so easy in practice. But that's why God is fine-tuning us every single day. We put our lives to Him and we trust that God will help us become better men and women for our families, for our friends, and for the world as we know it. And that's all we can do. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Again, always come here, click the big red subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the like button if you guys like the content, but that's going to be it for me. My name is Craig. This has been Just Informed Talk. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.